the 15th of March, 1939. German units march on Prague, banners with swastikas snap above the castle, and the once busy cafes fall silent in shock. Only a day earlier, Slovak separatists, shielded by Hitler, declare their own state, and Czechoslovakia is destroyed overnight. Yet scattered across the towns and farms of the old republic are men who refuse to accept the breaking of the republic. They slip past new borders, ride freight cars and cargo ships for thousands of miles, and swear the soldier's oath in the growing Czechoslovak Army abroad. War hardens them. Fear and hunger twist some into heroes, others into deserters, and a few into collaborators and traitors who, when peace finally comes, must stand before judges and reckon with their choices. Among these soldiers turned traitors is Viliam Gerik. Viliam Gerik was born on the 28th of December 1920 in the town of Slovenský Meder, today's Slovak Palárikovo, then part of Czechoslovakia. His father Peter earned a modest living as a craftsman, and his mother Aloysia stayed at home with 5 children. Viliam went to school and received basic education from 1927 to 1936. At 16, he finished school, traveled to Bratislava, one of the larger cities in Czechoslovakia, and worked in a hotel in the city center. Gerik's goal, however, was not to work in Bratislava. He was trying to get further into Western Europe, with the goal of reaching France. At a time when Czechoslovakia was still recovering from the Great Depression, France was a destination for many people from the country, where they wanted to work for a little extra money and bring some cash back to their homeland. However, the situation was rapidly deteriorating for Czechoslovakia and its people. In September 1938, during the height of the policy of appeasement to Nazi Germany, the country was forced to accept the Munich Agreement and to surrender much of its border territories. In November 1938 came the Vienna Treaty, when a significant part of southern Czechoslovakia was captured by Hungary, including Gerik's hometown. The year 1939 brought enormous tensions in Central Europe, and fears of the outbreak of war grew. The shattering of Czechoslovakia in March 1939, with the help of Slovak separatists led by Josef Tiso, was also a turning point. The Slovak State was proclaimed, of which Viliam Gerik became a citizen, and Czechoslovakia temporarily disappeared from the map of Europe. However, this did not last long. With the aim of restoring it, Czechoslovak troops soon began to form abroad, which later intervened in the fighting of the Second World War. Today, it is difficult to say whether Viliam Gerik was interested in working in the French fields in the summer of 1939, or whether he was trying to get beyond the borders of the Slovak state, which willingly collaborated with Nazi Germany. The fact is, however, that he, like many others in the summer of 1939, did not receive permission. The new collaborationist regime feared exactly what later happened: the formation of a Czechoslovak army in exile, whose goal was the defeat of Nazi Germany and its collaborators, and the territorial restoration of Czechoslovakia. To prevent this, they prevented some people from going abroad. The outbreak of the Second World War on the 1st of September 1939 represented a great change for the citizens of the former Czechoslovakia. For many, the struggle to rebuild the country had begun, and units of the Czechoslovak Army in exile finally began to officially form in France. Information about its formation probably reached Viliam Gerik as well. Gerik left the territory of the Slovak State on the 28th of October 1939. He took various routes through Hungary, Yugoslavia, and Greece to the Middle East, where he sailed on a military transport to the French port of Marseille. In December 1939, at a military camp in Agde, a city in southern France, the 18-year-old Gerik joined the Czechoslovak Army in exile. Soon he was sent to a signal course. He was very skilled at working with radios and wireless transmitter sets, which did not escape the attention of his superiors. When German tanks burst through the Ardennes forest in May 1940, Gerik used his skills to fight the Germans in France, and then retreated, together with the remnants of the Czechoslovak troops, through the south of France to Great Britain. In Britain, he joined the signal platoon of the Czechoslovak Brigade, but soon he drew the attention of officers who were tasked with selecting suitable candidates for special missions in the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, which the Nazis created out of the Czechoslovak territory they occupied in March 1939. From October 1940 to March 1942, Gerik endured sabotage, parachute, and radiotelegraphy courses where one instructor wrote on his file, "Attentive, intelligent, exact, conduct exemplary." The final phase was a cipher class, after which he was assigned to Operation ZINC. The goal of Mission ZINC was to support resistance in the Protectorate, among other things with a financial sum of 3 million crowns and the creation of a communication channel with the help of a wireless transmitter, which was to be operated by Viliam Gerik. The members of the operation landed on the 28th of March 1942. Unfortunately, the Halifax bomber carrying zinc made a mistake, took a wrong direction, and dropped men and containers near the Slovak village of Gbely instead of the planned territory of Moravia in the Protectorate. Such navigation slips plagued many early drops, but this one proved fatal. They were not only in another area, but in a different state. Agents hid part of their material and tried their luck with a border crossing. Approaching the border of the Protectorate, the team split up for safety. The leader of the operation, Oldrich Pechal, attempted a solo crossing, but encountered a border patrol. After a firefight broke out, he fought his way across, losing his forged papers that hid his identity in the process. Investigators from the Nazi secret police, the Gestapo, backtracked the clue to his family and began unraveling the entire mission. Gerik and a third member of the party, Arnošt Mikš, managed to board a local train at Rohatec and reached Buchlovice, where a supposed safe contact offered a room but no further help. Their wireless set failed to transmit. Meeting Pechal again only confirmed their state of desperation. It was decided Mikš and Gerik should carry on with the mission. The goal was to connect with the home resistance. Pechal, who was aware that the Gestapo was on his trail, decided not to continue and not to jeopardize the group's activities with his presence. Mikš and Gerik divided and agreed that they would meet in Prague. However, this never happened. The situation was dire. Viliam Gerik, who was 21 years old at the time, had never been in Prague before. He wandered streets he did not know. The addresses of the contacts from London were dead ends. Tenants, paralyzed by fear of the Gestapo, refused to help him. The policies of Reinhard Heydrich, the deputy protector of Bohemia and Moravia, in which he used fear against the civilian population, was working. Though Viliam Gerik had money, he was starving, because without ration coupons he could not legally buy any food. After fruitless days in Prague, without any connection to home resistance and fellow agents, he was thinking about suicide. Then came the idea to go to the police station in order to confess that he is an agent from the United Kingdom. He was hoping that he would be sent to his hometown, which at that time belonged to Hungary. On the 4th of April 1942, he entered the police directorate in Prague, surrendered his pistol and forged papers. The situation went downhill rapidly. The police informed the Germans about his presence, and within an hour Gerik stood in the Gestapo headquarters in Prague. His road from resistance fighter to traitor had begun. The Gestapo officers played their role very well. They claimed that they already had full knowledge of Operation ZINC, as well as other special operation drops to the Protectorate. Therefore, cooperation might save Gerik's life, and he would avoid torture. Gerik, demoralized and under pressure, revealed team composition, gave information about his training, and other agents which were sent by the same plane at the end of March. He even pointed out the hiding places of wireless transmitter sets hidden on Slovak territory near Gbely, imagining that a thorough confession would earn him release and transportation to his hometown. However, this never happened as he was too precious to the Gestapo. Gerik was the first of the captured Czechoslovak agents sent from the United Kingdom, who was willing to provide information about his training and the Czechoslovak Army in exile. In the following weeks, Gerik helped the Gestapo to identify the body of his fellow agent Arnošt Mikš, who had shot himself after a firefight with gendarmes on the 30th of April 1942, in which he was badly injured. With his suicide, he avoided capture. Together with Karel Čurda, another agent turned traitor, he identified the bodies of the attackers on Heydrich and other agents who died during the battle with the SS on the 18th of June 1942 in Prague. The Gestapo handed Gerik 5 million Protectorate crowns. This was a reward for the information about Heydrich's attacker. However, Viliam Gerik never gave any information about Jan Kubiš and Josef Gabčík, simply because he did not know anything about them. What is interesting is that he left the money untouched, unlike Čurda, who spent lavishly. Even the Gestapo soon judged him of limited use. After a few field operations, each compromised by his clumsy warnings to potential supporters of the resistance, the Gestapo cancelled his regular reporting order, though shadow surveillance remained. He never became as active a confidant as Karel Čurda had been. During the following period, he tried to contact representatives of the home resistance and provide them with his knowledge and skills. Unfortunately, he fell into the Gestapo's trap, and the Germans discovered his efforts and arrested him. Gerik went to a solitary cell in Pankrácz prison, then to the small fortress at Terezín near Prague, and later to the concentration camp in Dachau near Munich. Here he joined the resistance structures in the camp and created an illegal radio station for the needs of the prisoners. American troops liberated Dachau on the 29th of April 1945. Gerik, weak but alive, decided to return to Czechoslovakia. He came to Prague on the 24th of May 1945 to offer an account of Operation ZINC and his own tangled path. His goal was to clear his name, but after his arrival, Gerik was arrested and re-imprisoned in Pankrácz prison. But he managed to escape. However, his escape did not last long, and he was arrested in the direction of the Czech town of Nepomuk, near the place where the Czechoslovak Armored Brigade was located at the time, in which soldiers who knew Gerik from Great Britain were also serving. Whether Gerik's escape was a stress reaction or an effort to obtain positive testimonies about his person in an unconventional way is impossible to determine today. What is sure is that the escape made Gerik's trial more difficult. On the 28th and 29th of April 1947, a court in Prague tried him alongside with Karel Čurda. Prosecutors also recited, among others, the Gestapo testimonies and documents. Gerik replied that his surrender arose from isolation and hunger, not planned betrayal, and reminded them of his resistance work in the concentration camp in Dachau. However, the court did not accept his arguments and sentenced Gerik to death by hanging. He did not ask the President of the Republic, Edvard Beneš, who led the Czechoslovak resistance during the Second World War, for clemency. Viliam Gerik, a man who had gone to fight for Czechoslovakia and broke down under the pressure of circumstances, was hanged for his failure on the 29th of April, 1947. He was 26 years old. To this day, historians point to the difference in the actions of Viliam Gerik and Karel Čurda. Thanks for watching the World History Channel. Be sure to like and subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.